Football is awesome. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Friday Night Roots. I'm your host, Justin Thomas. Do me a huge favor for all three of you watching. Do me a huge favor. Drop a like if you can. Share the video with your friends if you're willing. And please, please, please subscribe to the channel just so I have a little more motivation to make these videos every day. Super. Let's just, as always, let's just kind of jump right into it. Kind of an introduction for today. I'm kind of just going to cover kind of all the storylines of camp right now. I'm going to cover kind of the big ones. I know I said I want to do videos every single day, and I really strive for that. But at the same time, I'm trying to balance not giving you just bullshit videos. But to be fair, there's plenty of content. I could be making a video every day, and hopefully we kind of work to that point. A little more motivation and then a little more time on my end would be helpful. I just do this on the side for fun and just for the passion of the game. So bear with me as I can, but I'm going to continue to ramp it up. Once the season starts, I'm going to be full ramp, full go. But it's just, right now, unless there's a big story, I don't want to just come on here and upload a 3-minute video, but I probably should be doing that. So hopefully that starts coming down the pipe here soon. As the season gets going, I get a little more motivated. But, I mean, football's back, baby. Football's back. This is just the best time of year. This is me and my best friend, we were just talking about it. This is the time of year that people don't even realize, like, people like me and some people across this country who just love this sport and just have such a passion for it. Like, this is the time, like, we get just so excited. So, super excited to do that. With that being said, let's just freaking hammer it down. And as always, let's talk some ball. Today, I'm just looking at my notes here. Let's start with the only thing in the world I mocked in my last video. Let's talk about Shedeur Sanders. Let's talk about kind of where he's at, and they released the initial depth chart. They have him in the initial depth chart rocking at 4th, but I know he did miss a few practices, and the reality is of these first depth charts is they kind of mean nothing because the coaches aren't even, I mean, it's not that they're not sure. They usually have a pretty good idea of where a player stands, but for the sake of answering questions to the media, for the sake of a lot of things, I think GMs and when they post these first depth charts, I think they have a lot of that stuff in mind when they do that. Like, shit, am I going to have to answer a question about this tomorrow? So I think they do that weird stuff, kind of like what they Colts did, which I'll get to in a minute. But, yeah, anyway, Shedeur Sanders, he's got that 4-way battle with Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, of course, and obviously Shedeur had missed a few practices. Now Dillon Gabriel is going to miss a few practices. So, yeah, I mean, and he's also, the Browns finally announced Shedeur is going to be getting the start. And I think their game is actually Friday. So this Friday at 4 o'clock Pacific time, they're actually going to play each other. So I'm super excited for that. And this is one of those. Listen, Shedeur's at a point where the media at this point is almost tired of talking about him, and so is the fans. The fans are tired of hearing about him. My opinion is, listen, let the football speak for itself. Go let him play. I wish him the best of luck. I definitely think he's better than Dillon Gabriel. Joe Flacco, that's up for debate, but all I know is the Browns are a walking meme right now, and it's kind of embarrassing because then they brought in the old guy Snoop from the Ravens as a quarterback. Tyler Huntley, I think, is his name. And then they brought in this other quarterback who they put on the roster, and these guys are just filler roster spots. I mean, that's all they are. It's just because Deshaun Watson's forgotten about. They've already basically accepted their loss on him. He's gone, and they're just going to have to be known as the worst sports contract in history. But the best part about sports is there will be another, and that day will come, but not today. So anyway, yeah, the Browns. I'm excited for Shedeur Sanders. I think he'll do fine. I think he's an exciting player. I think he's fun to watch. I think he can bring a lot to a football team. I wish him the best. I think everyone right now is kind of more looking at the Browns than him, just to trying to see how they're going to navigate this crazy situation. So let's jump into the Colts. The Colts, the big storyline is that they put Anthony Richardson or Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. So this one is not, once again, I think this is just GMs and coaches trying to just avoid the media as best they can. I just think this is one of those things where they just don't want to talk to anybody. I don't think they want to see anybody. I don't think they want to deal with the reporters asking, is it Daniel? Is it Anthony? Is it Daniel? Is it Anthony? Listen, the reality is, to me, is I think they should give Anthony Richardson the start and say, hey, this is it. Like, good luck, And then just, to be honest, I don't know, though, because Anthony Richardson is the only quarterback I've seen miss wide open receivers just running across the middle of the field. And that's like the first thing as a quarterback you need to be able to do, especially in the NFL, let alone high school or college. If you cannot hit your receivers accurately across the middle 9 out of 10 times, I mean, if you're doing it 8 out of 10 times, your coach is still yelling at you. I mean, you have to hit those, especially in an NFL roster, right? Like, you have to. So it'll be interesting. My opinion is, you know what? Just give Anthony Richardson the damn ball and just say, look, dude, figure it out. And if you just can't, that's all right. We're going to ride with this guy. What worse can happen? They're already going to get the criticism, right? Why put Daniel Jones in that shitty situation before they find out about Anthony Richardson? And kind of what we're all thinking, a big bust. So we'll see. Saints, obviously, they have a QB competition. This one isn't even that exciting. Spencer Rattler, Jake Hayner, and Tyler Shue. I saw a clip of Tyler Shue absolutely abysmally holding onto the football too long and scrambling like Lamar Jackson and then just taking a 2-yard gain out of bounds on the left side of the field. It was like, good night, man. What the hell was that? Yeah, training camp is training camp, right? It's a grind. I know these players are so busy, and I remember in football like that the summer practices from like mid-July up to the season, that early August, that second week of August when you have your first game. I remember those practices, and of course they're not nearly as lengthy and extensive as an NFL practice, but it is a grind. It's hot, especially here in the great state of California. It's hot. It's dry. It's, your coaches are riding you all day. You're getting pissed off because your coach is riding you about something. I get it, and it's just a grind. Obviously, Cam Ward, drafted first overall. He'll be the starter, and Will Levis is out. Get injured, that next in line. I even had coaches tell me that in high school. Listen, if you get injured, that sucks. Yeah, move on. Micah Parsons' contract dispute. I'm not going to touch too much on it. I just think Jerry Jones is being a dumbass. I think when your grandpa gets old enough, and I've experienced this in my life, when your grandfather gets old enough and it's time to take the car keys away, but you know it's going to rip his heart out and make him feel like, even if he's not all there, it sucks. It just sucks. It sucks. And I feel like that's where the Cowboys are at with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones, in my opinion of him, has always been, he runs his franchise like a freaking fantasy football team. He runs his fantasy, his team like a fantasy football team, and you just can't do that in the NFL. It's just, he's got so much money, though. It's kind of like, it's his team. It's been in the Jones family a long time. His son's the next up-and-comer. I think he's the GM, I'm pretty sure, but no one even knows because, he's the one doing everything. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's time to pull the keys away from Grandpa, give Jerry land off to his son. Jerry's awesome, and he's done so much for this league, but, at some point the time comes, right? I think the time is now. Pay Micah. But I'm gonna take a step back on Micah a little bit. I'm a Niners fan. Every time Micah's played the Niners have neutralized him. That's not me being a fanboy. That's me being reality. And I think Colin Cowherd yesterday posted a statistic on his show showing that he only has 2 postseason sacks. 2. He's played in 4 postseason games. He has only 2 postseason sacks and 6 QB pressures in the postseason. He gets deleted. He disappears. So before you go giving him Myles Garrett money, I don't think he deserves Myles Garrett money. And that's going to be a hot take for a lot of people. I'm not as high on Micah as everyone else is. Simply because I've seen him get diminished. I've seen him get put in his place. Who I haven't seen get put in their place, are the Myles Garretts, the TJ Watts, the Nick Bosa's. I mean, actually, I have seen Nick Bosa get put in his place, to be honest with you, a few times. So, it's fluid, but, the top league guys, the top guys are not getting stopped nearly as often as Mike is. So, anyway, Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh, I know not a whole lot to talk about there. I'm just a big fan of Will Howard in the backup. I know he suffered, I think he had, he's going through a little hand injury, but I love the way the Steelers set this up for the future. I love the idea of bringing in Aaron, drafting Will, and then letting Will ride the coattail of Aaron. Because Aaron did basically say this is going to be his last year. So, I don't know. I think this could be really, really good for Will Howard and hopefully good for the Pittsburgh Steelers' future, as they just haven't been a very offensive-centric team. Veteran comebacks and, rookie standouts. Dak Prescott's still back. Aiden Hutchinson will be back. J.J. McCarthy's going to be back. but that's another storyline too. JJ McCarthy, how those three fill up the next. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson's an all-star. I think if he has anything close to the past 2 years, back up the Brinks truck, they're going to have to pay him. They're just going to have to pay him. Sorry, it's going to happen. JJ's a big one. Dak, listen, I think Dak's a great quarterback. I just think he's just never been on a franchise that can go that far. And to be fair to the franchise of the Cowboys, Dak hasn't played well at all in January, straight up. If you don't believe me, look up the stats. They're horrendous. He's like Herbert or Lamar sometimes. He gets to the playoffs, gets deep in the playoffs, or gets to that second game and just, you're just like, what happened, dude? Like, what happened? Or Jared Goff even the last year. I mean, gosh, 4 interceptions in a championship. You can't win a championship game with 4 interceptions, and even the most veteran NFL player knows that. Exciting. I know huge impressions are coming out of the Packers for Matthew Golden, and huge impressions out of Jacksonville for Travis Hunter. I love Travis Hunter. I am one of those people who really doesn't believe. You can play two-way positions in the NFL. I just think it's too hard. Listen, Travis Hunter's amazing, and I watched him make some amazing plays in college, some amazing catches. Not only do I think you should stay receiver for the money, I really do think that at the end of the day, like, why do you want to play two positions? Like, I mean, I think they'll pay him for both? If he's good enough, yes, but the reality is at whatever weight he's at, 180, 170, 180 pounds, like, even if he's 200 pounds, if you got Penei Sewell pulling on you on a green sweep, or you got a middle linebacker crashing down on you as the corner, or a middle linebacker, I'm sorry, a fullback, tight end, I don't know, man. Like, I just think if he's got Derrick Henry running at him full speed, there's a high probability of injury. There's a high probability that he takes one hit from a big running back or a big fullback or a big tackle and just goes, nope, I'll stick to receiver because that's what I'm good at. So I'm not saying that he can't do it. Those are my concerns with him, though. I'll say that. Nothing new in the head coaching wheel. I know Justin Fields is having a shitty camp, so I'm worried about the Jets and Aaron Glenn. But Aaron Glenn will obviously get a year or two to kind of, I think, to figure that out. Justin Fields isn't the best option, so I can't imagine Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, is going to be too hard on Aaron Glenn. I love Aaron Glenn. Obviously, the tree he comes from, the place he comes from. We'll just see how it goes. I'm buying a little bit of stock in the Las Vegas Raiders. I love the Raiders. I just think that they have the ability to win some games this year. I do think they'll still finish last in that division, just with that division's stacked. I mean, Pete Carroll, Sean Payton, Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh. The list goes on. And then under the other three head coaches, you've got Bo Nix, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. I don't know, man. Like, I think the Raiders will win some games. They'll definitely win some toss-ups, some easy ones. But to say they're going to take first over the Chargers, over the Broncos, and over the Chiefs, I don't know, dude. Don't know. Anyway. Injuries, the big one for me is Matthew Stafford. I know he's still got a sore back, hasn't even practiced yet. Not worried about the Rams. I know Sean McVay's so creative. I was having a conversation with a coworker recently, or actually yesterday, talking about, like, what is next for the Rams? Like, what is next? Because the Rams are so good, but we all know in this league, in this day and age, without a quarterback, you do not win. That's not true. You're not going to hoist the Lombardi trophy without either one of the best coaches or one of the best quarterbacks. And it's 10 times more likely to happen if you have one of the quarterbacks versus the coaches, right? There are coaches, and I take pride in this in the Niners, Kyle Shanahan dragging Jimmy G to a Super Bowl. Not a lot of other coaches could do that. There's a few. Sean McVay's definitely one of them. I think Matt LaFleur is one of them. Andy Reid's obviously one of them. I think Sean Payton maybe. I mean, there are so many those top offensive minds. Like, I think they all have that ability given the right circumstances and the team around the so-called quarterback that they have, right? Rams will be fine. I love Stafford. But yeah, like, what's next for the Rams after Stafford? That's what's concerning about the Rams. Like, where do they go? The next guy they get in the helm is going to be very important because the Rams could go from being this, one of the teams similar to the Niners, always kind of there, always annoying, always winning all their games in December, all of a sudden to disappear again, right? That's just how the Rams' history seems to have gone. But they're a well-run organization. Les Snead is very smart, so I don't doubt them too much. It's just something to keep in consideration. Okay, second half of the video, I kind of want to digest a little bit the game summary from the Hall of Fame game, which I thought was incredible, especially a guy who used to be on my team or my 49ers, Trey Lance, holy cow, and the Lions. The concern that we see on offense, granted, none of the starters were basically playing, none of them. I don't think any started this game. So I'm not going to get too overhyped. I don't want to be one of those people, but holy cow, the Chargers kicked ass, and Trey Lance looked good. He looked good. So LA jumped to a 14-0 lead right off the bat, and I was like, wow. Trey Lance, 13 for 20, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had hit Will Dissly, and then he had Keandre Lambert-Smith, that rookie. What an incredible game that was. It was just like, and then you saw Harbaugh doing the pad thing before the game with Trey Lance, and it was like, maybe Harbaugh fixed him. Maybe he fixed him. The reality is Trey Lance is still young. I think he's the same age, or roughly the same age as Bo Nix and Michael Penix, 26, 27. So he's young. He's one of those guys who didn't play a lot in college, and clearly, like Bo Nix and Brock Purdy, clearly if you have a lot of college starts, it can be so beneficial. Just there's nothing better than being behind the snap, behind the center, taking real snaps in real games. There's no experience like it. You can practice 10 out of 10 times. It's never going to be the same. The intensity is never going to be the same. So, maybe Trey Lance has figured it out. If anything, he saved his roster spot and he gets to stay in the NFL, because if it didn't work out, we all know what was going to happen to Trey Lance. He's going to wash out. Don't get me wrong, he'll still wash out with $35 million, but still washed out, right? Like he's at least stayed on the roster, I think, for now. So good for him. Vidal, the second string running back, had 37 rush yards and 2 touchdowns. They had their rookie in. He only played for 2 snaps and they pulled him out. Not a bad idea. I was surprised they were playing him at all. Lambert Smith really stood out. Impressive speed. That touchdown crest was crazy. I know I've been hearing great things about him being a rising camp star. I know Caleb Murphy on the edge. He did an awesome job. Lions bright spots, to me, there really weren't any. I think their quarterback is Brandon Allen. I think Brandon Allen played like shit. I think he had 1 or 2 interceptions just right off the bat. It almost seemed like the Lions were playing with no intensity, and that's rare, because when you know Dan Campbell and you know the program he's built, the program he's put his time into, especially if you watch that Lions Hard Knocks a few years ago, that's a tough, rugged coach with a tough, rugged program, and it felt like the energy was just gone. And it sounds bad, but in a way it almost sounds like, it reminds me of when a team builds all the way up to the Super Bowl and loses. Bills, Ravens, something the Niners have seen, something the Rams have seen, is like they build, they put all this time and effort into the season, and then you kind of come short, and sometimes the hangover hits hard. And I think for the Lions, like last year was their year. I think that was the year, and I think everyone thought it was the year. The injuries on defense really hurt them, but they were so good offensively. And, with the injuries on defense, and then Jared Goff throwing 4 picks, what can you do? And I don't know. Without Ben Johnson and that offensive creativity, and that's one of the things I mentioned. I was watching the game with my previous roommate before I moved here, but I was watching the game with him, and we were talking about it, and that's exactly what we both came to the conclusion of. We looked at each other and we said, where's the creativity here? Granted, that's now I'm getting ahead of myself. It's preseason. So that's why you got to be careful with how you interpret these things, right? It's early. We don't know. The Lions could go win the Super Bowl right now, and they are very capable of it, but we'll see, right? I'm not selling my stock yet, of course, but thinking about it, obviously the key takeaway was the Chargers defense killed them. Harbaugh clearly boosted Trey Lance with, I'd say, confidence. Yeah. And no offense, like the Lions weren't playing any starters either, so keep that in mind when you think about it. And then the one other topic I want to talk about before I preview kind of the games coming up this week, and I'll do a video after each set of those games. So tomorrow after the games, Friday after the games, and then Saturday after the games, I'll come on here and do a video. The last thing I kind of wanted to touch on before I preview the last set of preseason games is Caleb Williams and the Bears. This has been a huge topic of conversation all throughout the NFL right now about like who you know, Caleb, I love to see Caleb Williams, and I was like one of those guys who was all in. I wasn't all in. I'd say I was a little more. I'm always apprehensive with drafts. I don't care if you're drafted first overall or last seventh overall or seventh round, last pick, Mr. Irrelevant. I don't care. Like I've in fact, I read a crazy stat that something like like 47 or 48% of the NFL players are unrestricted, are previous undrafted or unrestricted free agents. So a lot of these players that become great or don't start there aren't even drafted. In fact, a lot of the kids drafted wash out. And in this day and age, if you're not drafted in the first, I think 5, maybe even 4, you're not even guaranteed a roster spot at that point. You're just not. Like that. It's that simple. You show up to camp, you're fighting for everything. If you're 1 through 3, you're almost guaranteed a roster spot. They're usually going to take a shot on you, even if there's a close battle. But after that, like, you're still fighting for your life out there in training camp. So, anyway, I just think I'm selling a little bit. I'll just cut to the point. I'm selling a little bit of stock in Caleb Williams. Clearly, with Eberflus, he wasn't coached as hard as he is now. And you hear the reports of Ben Johnson shutting down practice. You see the video of Caleb throwing the ball into the net, and missing a bunch of times, and then getting really frustrated. And I don't know, your quarterback's supposed to be the one that, even in the worst situation, stays composed and maintains leadership. But on the contrary, I think it's good for him. Ben Johnson's no joke. He's been coaching under Dan Campbell, and if you've seen how ruthless and how Dan Campbell kind of rules with intensity, like, the reality is that I think Caleb's going to respond to this positively. Now, then you're asking me, well, Justin, why are you selling your stock? Listen, after seeing his reaction to throwing the ball and missing those nets, and just the struggles he's had and the bad plays he's had. Listen, I'm not saying that he won't get better and Ben Johnson will build the offense to utilize Caleb's different strengths. Ben Johnson's going to have to adapt to, as much as we hate to admit it. He's going to have to change some things. The Lions know everything he does. So he's going to have to change some things. And as long as he does that for Caleb, I think Caleb can become a great quarterback still. I'm not going to be the guy anymore, though, that sits here and says, yep, Hall of Famer, done and done. He's the guy. Not going to do that anymore. I can't do it anymore. I just don't think that could be an option for Caleb anymore. At least for now. Like, I know this is so early and it's based on this early camp, and it sounds like bullshit, but I don't know. I'm selling a little stock in my brain, that's all. I can't put a finger on it, but I am. So, I'm sure that opinion will adapt over the course of the season with Ben Johnson. So, all right. Final part of the video. Let's preview this real quick the games coming up this week. Thursday we got 3. We got 2 really good ones and then one mediocre one, I think. Tomorrow, Thursday, August 7th. I'm on the West Coast, so I'm going to read this in Pacific time, just so you know. 4 p.m. Pacific time. We've got Colts. We've got the Colts and Ravens. 4:30, we've got the Bengals and the Eagles, which is, I think, once again, preseason, but it'll be a good game. Good game to watch. Definitely want to see some new draft picks on those teams make plays. Raiders Seahawks at 7, which will be also a great game. Friday, we got Lions Falcons. Based on the Lions preseason performance, who knows? That could be a great game. Bears and Panthers, which Shedeur Sanders will be starting for, so I'm sure a lot of people will be tuning to that. Those are both at 4 p.m. on Friday, August 8th. And then that 4:30 game that Friday we got Commanders and Patriots. So super excited for those. Sunday, we got the whole slate of games. From 10 a.m. we've got Giants, Bills. I'm taking Bills, obviously. It's all a depth question. I want to see Scadaboo play. Texans, Vikings, Steelers, Jags, Cowboys, Rams, Titans, Bucks, Chiefs, Cards, Jets, Packers, Niners, Broncos for that 5:30 game that evening. Then we've got Sunday. We've only got 2 games on Sunday. We got a 10 and a 1 o'clock. We've got Dolphins, Bears, and Saints, Chargers. So most of the games this week are going to actually be on Saturday. So that's exciting stuff. Super excited for all those. Once again, preseason, so I don't want to hype everyone up too much. It's just a preseason game, but Other than that, yeah, once again, I'm going to try and, the next 3 days, I'll definitely be making a video. I always love reacting to these kind of games. I didn't to the Hall of Fame game, honestly, because I was tired, and I just was like, I just didn't have much to say. I tried to talk about it, but I wasn't as excited then, so I don't know. Anyway, here we are. We're doing well here. I'm just excited for football to start. It's one of those days where, passion really drives this motivation, so I'm super excited for this, super excited to deliver content to all 3 of my fans. And as always, let's talk some ball. Love ya.